Prayers.
Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliament for the welfare of society, good of all human lives upon it, and the just government of its people. We beseech you to look with your abundant favor upon us, your servants, whom you have entrusted with the performance of such important trust in this community. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we may treat and consider all matters that shall come under our attention and deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of this region and of those whose interests you have committed to us. Amen. Thank you.
Item number 2 on the order paper, communication from the chair.
Honorable members, good afternoon. Allow me to welcome you back to this house after a long weekend. I wish to express our gratitude to our dear host, Parliament of Kenya, for the sumptuous welcome dinner hosted in honor of the members of Eala on 7th March 2024. Also take this opportunity once again to congratulate all the women for the successful celebrations for the International Women's Day in Embu County, which was graced by His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto on 8th March 2027. And we were there. Honorable members, I also wish to salute the Honorable David Sandcock for the outreach program organized for the Eala members held at Narok County on 9th March 2024. This event provided an avenue for the members to deepen, widen, and tighten the EAC integration agenda. Honorable members, as you will recall that this August House, during the term of the 4th Assembly, passed the following 3 bills. 1, the EAC Statistics Bureau bills in 2017. Second, the EAC Surveillance, Compliance and Enforcement Commission's bill in 2022, and the EAC Financial Services Commission bill in 2022. The bills were sent to partner states for assent. I, however, inform you that the same bills were returned because of withholding of assent by the Republic of Kenya and the Republic of Burundi. Please take your seat. In accordance with Rule 73 of the Assembly Rules of Procedure, I inform this August House of the receipt of notifications from the respective partner states about the withholding of assent to the bills and request you to take note of these developments. I will also give the chairperson of the council an opportunity to lay copies of the returned bills and the reasons advanced for withholding these assents. Now, about ruling on documents tabled. Honorable members, you may also recall that on Wednesday, 6th March 2024, when debating the speech of His Excellency, the President of Kenya, Honorable Kennedy Mukulia laid on the table documents in support of his debate in respect of governance challenges occasioned by our immediate outgoing Secretary General, Dr. Peter Matuki. The member and some other members also indicated that they would table additional information. The documents touch on a member of this House, touch on the privileges of this House and our code of conduct. I promised to make a ruling today, Tuesday, 12th March 2024. I now rule as follows. 1, this document and as many as may be tabled are referred to the Committee on Legal, Rules and Privileges. 2nd, invaried the order paper to allow for tabling of additional information as part of item 3. I request the Committee on Legal, Rules and Privileges to conclude this activity before April 2024 as per its next activity. I advise the committee to take advantage of its general purpose members to assist the committee with the finance matters. I advise the committee to utilize its powers under the treaty and the rules to conduct credible investigations and report at the next plenary. Petitions to the Assembly. Today, on behalf of the East Africa Legislators Assembly, I received a team presenting a petition from the Africa Coalition on Public Services brought by the Initiative for Social and Economic Rights on the state of public services like health, education, and social protection in the East Africa Community member states. These are non-partisan civil society organizations and individuals that advocate for gender-responsive, accountable, inclusive, and quality public services across Africa and penned their demands in a manifesto, the Africa We Want, Reclaim Public Services, which urged state parties to prioritize quality public services. The petitioners argue that amidst policy crises like COVID-19, climate change, cost of living crisis, it is more urgent than ever for member states to have quality public social services. Allow me to welcome and introduce to you the petitioners from Africa Coalition on Public Services who are in the gallery to observe our sittings. They are Alana Benita Yonia Kembabazi, who is leading the delegation. Please recognize them. Good. We have Madina Abdul Rahim Mohammed. Please stand up to be recognized. And Dr. David Suje. Please stand up. I also received another petition to stop Africa from implementing the misleading, impoverishing United Nations educational goals and programs. I refer both petitions to the GP committee. I also present in the gallery, also present in the gallery this afternoon are students and the lecturers from Riara University who have also come to observe our proceedings. These are the students from the Faculty of International Affairs, and the leader is Dr. Mutiso. And we have Trey Chao, Joan Mutoni, Faith Chiruto, Messi Chelengat, Ismail Duale, is it Joseph? Joseph Knows, Vincent Kamande, Caleb Ekale, Eli Alo. I apologize in case I didn't pronounce your names. Please stand up to be recognized. They have been hosted by Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka Kennedy. Thank you.
Item number 3 on the order paper, laying of papers. Starting with Roman 1, bills returned from the council.
I now invite the chair of the Council of Ministers, or if ministers are there, any of them, to lay the papers.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I stand representing Chair Council, who could not be here today. My name is Gervais Abayeho. I'm the Minister for East African Community Affairs, Youth, Sports and Culture from the Republic of Burundi and former Council of Ministers Chair. Mr. Speaker, sir, you will recall that the Council introduced the following bills. Number 1, the ESC Statistics Bureau Bill. Number 2, the ESC Surveillance, Compliance and Enforcement Commission Bill 2022. Number 3, the ESC Financial Services Commission Bill 2022. The bills were accordingly passed by this August House and advance copies sent to the partner states by the clerk. As you have stated in your communication, the Republic of Kenya and the Republic of Burundi have made comments on the EAC Surveillance, Compliance, and Enforcement Commission Bill 2022 and the EAC Financial Services Commission Bill 2022, while the Republic of Burundi made comments on the EAC Statistics Bureau Bill. Accordingly, the three bills are returned under Article 63 of the treaty. Accordingly, the three bills are returned under Article 63 of the treaty for reconsideration by the Assembly in accordance with Rule 73 of the Rules of Procedure of the Assembly. I have the honor of laying the three bills together with the comments and the reasons advanced by the two partner states for reconsideration by the Assembly. I beg to lay.
Still on item number 3, Roman 2, report of the General Purpose Committee.
Chair for the GP, Play.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to lay before the Assembly the report of the Committee on General Purpose on the assessment of the role of women, youth, and vulnerable groups in cross-border trade in the EAC region held between the 28th of January and 2nd of February 2024. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay.
Still on item number 3, Roman 3, report of the Committee on Accounts.
Chair of the Committee on Accounts, lay the report.
Honorable Speaker, this morning we will have a meeting to analyze our report. So that it was not complete, so our report is not ready. And we send a message to the clerk to say that we have a permission to present it tomorrow.
Honorable Chair, get it ready for tomorrow.
Still on item number 3, new matters to be tabled to be item number 4.
Sorry? Honorable Mukulia, Chair of the GP.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also wish to lay before this Assembly evidence related to mismanagement of the affairs of the community by staff of the community between the year 2021 and 2023, and the following are the documents. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm laying before this Assembly 30 documents in addition to the one I've laid last week. One is the preparation for the Nairobi 3 Inter-Congolese dialogue, and is a letter referenced in the report. Second is the expenditure and dedicated funds for implementation of the Nairobi process, the EAC peace facility. Number 3, expenditure of dedicated funds for implementation of the Nairobi process, the EAC peace facility. Number 4, audit queries for the financial year ending 20th June 2023, audited EAC peace facility to the Secretary General. Number 5 is an annex on an extract of the management letter of the EAC Secretariat of the audited financial statement for the financial year 2021-2022. Number 6 is an annex of an extract of the management letter of the EAC Secretariat of the audited financial statements for the financial year 2022-2023 as continuation of issues raised in Annex 1 on the community's disposal of assets in respects to financial year 2022-2023. Number 7 is a confidential EAC Secretariat internal audit report of the EAC Peace Facility Fund, May 2023. Number 8 is an Annex 4 on the confidential audit commission draft management letter of the EAC Peace Facility Fund financial statements for the financial year ended 12th June 2023. Number 9 is a confidential report of the EAC Audit Commission on the financial statements of the EAC Peace Facility Fund for the year ended 30th June 2023, authored on January 2024. 1 is the Commission opinion on item 66.1, and the Commission issued a qualified opinion on the audited accounts. Number 10 is an extract of the EAC internal audit report of the EAC Secretariat for the financial year 2022-2023 on irregularities in the disposal of the EAC assets through auction. Number 11 is for Mr. Brian Kalekia, the interim EAC USAID liaison officer, an employment contract offered to him on 12th of October 2023 by the candidate of the SG as the EAC Secretariat with effect from 1st July 2023. Number 12 is a memo from the SG to the Director of Social Services and copied to the DSGs, CTCs, directors, all staff, dated 21st September 2023, handling the duties of financial and administration on behalf of the Secretary General. Number 13 is a memo from the SG to the DSS and copied to the DSCs, CTC, directors, all staff, dated 16 August 2023, on handling of financial and administrative docket in the absence of the DSG Finance and Administration /DSG Corporate Services. Number 14 is a reference letter request for the attachment of a police driver, close protection bodyguard to the EAC Secretary General. Number 15 is a memo from the DSSS, which is the Director for Social Services, to the CTC, dated 14, in which a payment of an allowance of for close protection officer Sergeant Justus Musoki, Constable Louis Mutuku Ndiso, and PC Paul Clement. Number 16 is an instrument between the East African Community and Mrs. Lillian Wanjiru, career consultant, contracted on capacity development and advice to strategically strengthen EAC media relations by the consultant, initially signed on October 5th, 2021, and extended on to 23rd of February 2023. Number 17 is a contract between the East African Community and Sylvester Kalunji, a contract for the provision of services related to the coordination of implementation of EAC projects signed on 29th May 2023. Number 18 is a memo from the Director of Human Resource through the DSS to SG dated 7th of September 2023, request for a vehicle for the DSG Customs Trade Monetary Affairs. And number 19 is EAC management system on transport and travel management policy and procedure manual, document number ADMMMNL2, issued on 18th of February 2016, 05 version 10, of which it has several parts. Number 20 is a memo from the Office of the Secretary General to the Director of Finance, dated 13 April 2023, settlement allowances for Administrative Officer Nyerere Center. Number 21 is a memo from the Office of the Secretary General to Davida Klachi, dated 13 April, of an internal duty allocation. Number 22 is a memo from the senior procurement officer to the CDC and copied to officers on internal duty reallocation and short-term employment contract and short-term program assistance. Number 24 is list of short-term staff directive from the SG to the Director of Human Resource Officer to consider the skills capacity and reshuffle them on the date 19 April 2023. Number 24 is a memo from the Director of Human Resource Officer copied to the DSG on the designation of staff administration and annexes of short-term employment contracts for Mr. Dennis Kituru and Mr. Lawrence Mukwaya issued on 24th of February. Number 25 is a memo from the PAO of which there is a redeployment of staff. Number 26 is a memo from the CDC of which there is an EAC delegation that went to the COP28 in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. Number 27 is a memo from DPS of proposed members of EAC delegation to the forthcoming UN Climate Change Conference, which is the COP28 in November 29 to December 12, 2023. Number 28 is also a memo of EAC delegation list for COP28 also. Number 29 is also a memo of EAC delegation to COP28 in Dubai. Number 30 is an anonymous email message from the East African community to individual staff, Outlook mails dated Tuesday 27 on era of the fairy tales and empty talk. Mr. Speaker, sir, these are new evidence that I wish to lay before this House in prosecuting the case. Thank you.
I'm sorry, it's okay, it's fine. Honorable Mukulia, Chair of the GP Committee, you are really well prepared and informed. Huh?
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, as still I'm on the floor, I also want to, under our rules of procedure, that is Rule 29, on notices of motion, special part 1, part 2, part 3 of which tomorrow I will be moving a motion for a resolution of this assembly to urgently investigate the finances, conduct, and management of the affairs of the community during the period April 21 to March 24. But of course, you will find your time how to slot it in the order paper anytime you wish convenient for you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Now I have to rule.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Yes, Honorable.
If I may.
Suleiman.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I see no point to hang a man who's already been crucified. This matter was brought to the attention of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, and he acted immediately and decisively. The Kenyan chapter also followed up on this issue. Now I put it to this House that the laws of natural justice means that the person who is accused should have the right to defend himself, which he doesn't. For us Muslims, this is the month of mercy. And for you Christians, I refer you to what Jesus Christ said, let he who has not sinned cast the first stone. I do not believe that it is the mandate of this House, of this august House, to sit as judge and jury over this issue. This matter has been referred to the General Purpose Committee by yourself, Mr. Speaker, and I believe it is a matter that is going to the summit. So there is no point for us to bring our laundry here and do it again. So, Mr. Speaker, I urge this House to look forward. We have a new Secretary General designate, a seasoned diplomat of impeccable character. And the Honorable Falhada also points out a female. I would recommend, sir, that instead of focusing on the past, let us set a committee that will define our terms of engagement with the new Secretary General. Let us look at the budgets that we need to propose going forward. Let's look up at setting up a proper budget for the Speaker of the House, because that represents this House. And I urge this House to look forward. Let's not look backwards. This matter has been referred to the General Purpose Council Committee and to the summit. Let it rest there. I think we're wasting our time discussing an issue that's already been prosecuted and decisively acted on. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, Speaker, point of information. Before you
Honorable
make a-
members, I have not ruled. I have not still ruled. But if you have maybe an information which is needed, you can bring it, but I have not ruled yet. Yes, Honorable James.
Honorable Speaker, however much I respect what Honorable Shabal said on the floor, but just want to give him a bit of information that a man without history is a man not existing. The document laid before this House a few days ago by the General Purpose Committee chairperson were a few that your ruling was basing on. And today, even before we know what motion the chairperson is going to bring on the floor, we're already jumping into conclusion. I'll just guide this House, Right Honorable Speaker, that let's wait for him to bring his motion tomorrow, and then we make a decision on it. But again, on issues to do with mismanagement of funding, I've had an opportunity to go through a few documents through my own sources. It is terrifying. Now, Honorable Speaker, I come to a conclusion that, even this Honorable Parliament be not given a chance to have more days to scrutinize issues to do with EAC in general, were politically and tactically intended to make sure this Parliament does not have enough time to go through documents and scrutinize on issues to do with EAC. I still, Honorable Speaker, agree with the General Purpose Chairperson that please, let's have enough time on issues he has just raised on. Let's debate on them whenever he lays he brings his motion, and let's be a mirror to be seen by the world that we mean business and we mean openness on finances that most African countries which are poor are trying to bring to this community for the betterment of East Africans' welfare in general. I beg to submit.
Chair, further information, Chair.
Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, I give the floor to 4 members. I mean, 1, Honorable Kanini Kega, and Kanini Kega and Honorable Pakosi and Honorable Matthias and Honorable Hassan.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to make some few comments on what I don't actually know. This is a house of procedure and rules. Honorable Speaker, some of us are lost because members are referring to a motion which there is no motion in the first place, Honorable Speaker. And in the August House, you don't anticipate a debate. When a motion is brought on the floor of the House, that's the time you debate. I hear members debating, saying that it has been referred to general purpose. I don't think, Honorable Speaker, and because we are House of Rules, Honorable Speaker, there is no motion as far as I'm concerned that has been brought to this House.
Be brief. Can I rule? Good. I rule. Kakoza, 1 minute.
Yeah, Chair, thank you very much. For the purpose of the record, I've listened to my chair, Shabal. At least we have common practices in the House. The common practices, once documents are laid on table, it becomes a property of the House. And the jurisdiction of that property of the House, I want to Speaker to look at Rule 7. G, the Speaker shall refer those documents to the relevant committee. We've not taken a decision on the matter because the documents laid on table, we are not sure whether they are correct or not. The purpose of the committee must investigate and find out whether the documents laid on table are true and correct information. The House must be reported back through the relevant committee, if it's necessary, that relevant committee, which can deal, for us in accountants, when you are auditing a document, you are looking for criminality or the fraud and controls of the system, we call it a forensic audit. A forensic audit is a prima facie case that anybody found with an evidence, he must be prosecuted. So I rather, my simple advice, Right Honorable Speaker, that these reports, these documents must be given to relevant committee and it must be investigated thoroughly well because this is in a public domain. Depending on the speech of the president, he said is relying on members of parliament to see that there is no diversion of funds and we must fight corruption at its level. So the best way, this parliament, what I can advise, Right Honorable Speaker, it's a committee which concerns finances and the controls of the system and we come out of it. I beg you to submit.
Thank you. Now I think I can rule. Thank you. Let's rule because it's clear. Even if I've selected members to speak, some have allowed me to rule because it's clear. So, honorable members, for those who had been who were there to take the floor, thank you for allowing me to rule because it's clear. About the bills, the EAC Statistics Bureau Bills 2017, I refer it to CTI Committee. The EAC Surveillance, Compliance and Enforcement Commission Bill 2022, I refer this bill to GP Committee. The EAC Financial Services Commission Bill 2022, I refer it to the GP Committee. But I had already ruled.
This particular
Honorable members, I have to consider the advices I've received from the clerks that the East African Community Surveillance, Compliance and Enforcement Commission Bill 2022 should be referred to Legal Rules and Privileges Committee. Thank you. Now, about all the documents that have been laid by Honorable Mukuria. The document we received on, was it on Monday? On Wednesday. And these documents received today, I refer all of these documents to the Legal Rules and Privileges Committee. And I invite the members to be professional. We have the treaty, we have these rules and procedure of the Assembly. Please, honorable members, you have power, deal with the documents, and then report to us, to the House.
Procedure, Honorable Speaker. Procedure, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, procedure. Honorable Speaker, when it comes to finances of this House, of this Parliament, they are handled by the Committee on Accounts. So when it comes to corruption issues, I'm wondering, why does it go to the Committee of Legal? Honorable Speaker,
Supplementary information.
I'm seeking your guidance.
Supplementary information.
In terms of accounts and audited accounts and in terms of corruption, which is the relevant committee to deal with it? Or is it supposed to be another committee, a combination of the two committees? But for sure, this lies squarely on the Committee on Accounts of this House. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Supplementary information to the House. Right, Honorable Speaker, I've dealt with these matters in the other jurisdiction, where it means to mention the name of a person and to deal with finances, you need a permanent audit professional to know the frauds and controls. The best person to deal with this matter, nobody has the capacity here, is an auditor who will know that this money which was appropriated in the House, how it came as a donation and the grant of the treasury of the House. It should be finances of accounts. The legal of it cannot have a legal mind or investigator apart from the auditor who read the balance sheet and the ledger to know the nitty and gritty of those finances, apart from an auditor who report to Accounts Committee as a practice of this House. But an audit committee, an audit query, it must not go to legal, it goes to Accounts Committee as a relevant committee. It cannot be a legal matter. These are matters of finances, these are frauds and controls of the system, and these are where we are going to question even the internal auditors of the system, that the frauds which have been happening in this House, where have you been? And that's why we are going to task the auditors to bring a fiscal audit to prosecute whoever has been involved in this corruption. I beg your indulgence. I give my wise experience and my professional of dealing such a documents. It must go to professional areas, and which is Accounts Committee, not legal.
Information, Speaker. Procedure, Mr. Speaker. Procedure.
Procedure, yes.
Procedure. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a House of Rules. And Mr. Speaker, I believe it is the Speaker who rules. And the Speaker rules using the procedures. And in the Code of Conduct of this House, from the Rules of Procedure, number 8, investigations, 1, it said the Assembly may refer for investigation any specific matter relating to a member, adherence to rules of conduct under in the Committee of Legal Rules and Procedures. And the Secretary General is a member of this House. And also, Mr. Speaker, to just shed more information, is that membership to communities, a member of Accounts Committee is not an auditor, but is a member of this House. And a member of the Legal Committee is not a lawyer, is a member of this House. So let's allow the Legal Rules and Privileges Committee to do the duty as assigned by the Speaker.
Order, right, Honorable
Thank you.
Speaker.
Point of information.
Order, right, to the Honorable Speaker.
Information, Speaker.
Order, right, to the Honorable Speaker. To Honorable
Honorable
Makame.
Kakoza, have your seat. I didn't give you the floor.
Yes.
But an order doesn't need an.
Please have your seat.
Information, Speaker.
Now, honorable members, if I am Senior Speaker, I have ruled, that's all. Let's proceed.
Item number 4 on the order paper. Report of the Committee on General Purpose regarding youth, women, and vulnerable groups in cross-border trade motion.
Chair of GP Committee, move the motion.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to move a motion that the report of the Committee on General Purpose on the assessment of the role of women, youth, and vulnerable groups in cross-border trade in East African Community Region held between 28th of January to 2nd of February 2024 be adopted. I beg to move.
Yes, Honorable Ndangiza, Honorable Anastas, and others. Now you can justify your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable members, I will be reading the summary of the report to justify the motion. You know, we are digital. The reports are in this. So I know people are looking for it. Yeah, we're digital.
You have the report with you in front of you. You can help those who do not have to find them.
I can proceed.
Yes, you can.
Thank you. A report of the Committee on General Purpose on the assessment of the ESC, on the assessment of the role of women, youth, and vulnerable groups in cross-border trade in the ESC region. Introduction. The report is by the Committee on General Purpose of the East African Legislative Assembly. The committee examined the role of women, youth, and vulnerable groups in cross-border trade in the region. The objective of the activity is 1, to analyze existing legal frameworks and programs to support cross-border trade participation by women, youth, and vulnerable groups. Number 2 is to identify challenges faced by these groups. Number 3 is to recommend interventions to facilitate their participation. And number 4 is to engage with stakeholders to address challenges. The committee employed the following methodology. It visited a border post in Nimule, Elegu, and Namanga. Nimule, South Sudan, Elegu, Uganda, and Namanga, Kenya, and the United Republic of Tanzania. 2, met with the government officials, trade associations, and other stakeholders. 3, this report summarizes the committee findings and recommendations. Findings between the Elegu-Nimule border post, programs, and intervention put in place to facilitate trade is the simplified trade regime for small scale traders, the designation of office for women within the illegal one-stop border post, security measures to reduce hostile activities, trade facilitation through e-certification, sensitization of traders on relevant procedures of trade, setting up veterinary regional labs, issuing certificates of identity and temporary movement permits, free entry and exit for border communities within 24-kilometer radius, advisory services on the security in South Sudan. Challenges faced by women, youth, and the vulnerable groups. 1, security concerns in the Republic of South Sudan. 2, periodic flooding at the border post. 3, illiteracy among women traders. 4, porous borders leading to smuggling. Language barrier, especially Arabic, that is not understood by the Ugandan traders. Brokers extorting money from traders. Mistreatment of women traders in Nimule. Lack of banking and credit facilities. Unstable exchange rate affecting profitability. Lack of storage facilities in South Sudan. Difficulty in finding markets due to lack of support, and multiple taxes imposed in South Sudan. Challenges faced by the government agencies is congestion at the illegal border due to wet cargo trucks, refugees from South Sudan crossing the border frequently, smuggling of goods in small quantities by women and youth, porous border leading to conflict between enforcement agencies, then some women trade exceeding the simplified trade regime limit, lack of animal holding ground for veterinary inspections, infrastructure deficiency on the Nimule side of the border. Specific observation is that women, youth, and the vulnerable groups contribute 10% to domestic revenue mobilization at Elegu. Efforts to improve border security and trade facilitations are commendable. The free movement of persons not yet in place due to lack of agreement between Uganda, Kenya, and Rwanda. Needed to address the delayed construction of one-stop border posts at the Nimule site. Efforts to apprehend brokers and improve court procedures are appreciated. The Uganda government aims to increase the contribution of women, youth, and the vulnerable groups to tax revenue to 20% by the end of 2024. Specific recommendation is urged for enhanced coordination among government agencies at the border post, urge South Sudan to expedite land acquisition for the Nimule one-stop border post, urge South Sudan to establish a designated office for addressing concern of cross-border trade, urge Uganda to keep the women and youth office at a legal one-stop border post operational, urge Customs Administration of Uganda and South Sudan to work together on women, youth, and vulnerable groups, urge Uganda to operationalize the new parking yard to reduce congestion, urge a master plan between South Sudan and Uganda to address periodical flooding, and urge Uganda to partner with stakeholders to establish banks at Elegu. The Namanga one-stop border post, the interventions made to facilitate trade are: 1, increased utilization of the simplified trade regime, increased truck clearance for export and transit of goods, adopted coordinated border management through border control and operations committee, implementation of fast-track cargo clearance measure by Kenya Revenue Authority, secured control zone for enhanced security of transit cargo. Challenges faced by women, youth, and vulnerable groups at Namanga one-stop border post. Unequal treatment for Kenyan traders compared to the Tanzanian traders. Restriction on movement of Kenyan goods into Tanzania, especially milk. Limited market access, particularly for those dealing in specific goods like beads. Lack of designated market area and infrastructure for traders at the one-stop border post. Inadequate sanitation facilities, especially outside the official one-stop border post block. Obstacles in obtaining loans and credit facilities due to stringent lending practices, inadequate water and electricity supply within the Tanzanian border community, and parallel market hindering women advancement in the formal sector. Challenges faced by the government agency is absence of fixed drive-through scanners at one-stop border post, parallel market leading to revenue loss and posing security threats, limited verification tools like forklifts and mobile weighing bridges, lack of a dedicated area for livestock verification, and then absence of a shade and passenger lobby for travelers. Observation by the committee at Namanga one-stop border post, increase export through the simplified trade regime, establishment of border management committee, traders unaware of the simplified trade regimes and its benefits, persistent bottlenecks like restriction on milk export, permit requirements and roadblocks, absence of basic amenities like waiting area, restrooms and healthcare facilities, and challenges for small traders to meet compliance standards. Specific recommendation: install a fixed scanner to expedite customs clearance, set up customer care desks to assist traders with information and procedure, investigate fraudulent activities targeting Tanzanian women traders, share information between traders to prevent tax evasion, and improve facilities for vulnerable groups like mothers with children, elderly persons, and persons with disabilities. The committee had the following observation as general. While the committee commends government agencies and development partners for their efforts, more is needed to be done to improve the capacity of women and vulnerable groups engaged in cross-border trade. The discrepancies in tax regime among partner states create challenges for the traders. The presence of unscrupulous middlemen taking advantage of vulnerable traders is concerning. The absence or existence of poor basic social amenities like schools, health centers, water in border communities negatively impact people's lives and trades. The Cross-Border Trade Association plays a valuable role in supporting traders. The delay in implementing the EAC monetary union hinders economic integration. And the committee has the following general recommendations: that we should be able to expedite the assent to all laws enacted by the Assembly aimed at facilitating implementation of the EAC monetary union. To the EAC Assembly, the East African Legislative Assembly, so prioritize legislation to support EAC integration. 3, promote literacy programs and initiatives to empower women, youth that are involved in trade. Consider raising the threshold for the simplified trade regime to further support small-scale traders. Expand market access for women and vulnerable groups. Address the gender gap in access to finance by revising lending practices and promoting financial literacy among women. Collaborate to translate essential trade information into local languages. Explore securing grants to expand border ports and improve facility. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to read the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Now, honorable members, the motion on the floor is that the report of the Committee on General Purpose on the assessment of the role of women, youth, and vulnerable groups in cross-border trade in the region, EAC region, be adopted. Debate is open.
The big women go first. But yeah, I wanted to ask you, I wanted to call you. Even me, I'm a youth.
Maybe you know that the debate, those who will be given the floor will be having 5 minutes. So we have, Clark, can you help me to?
With the women.
Yes.
Every youth, real small. Women, youth, and their men.
You know, it's about youth, women, don't remember You have to not forget Maina. Did Alodi, Honorable Alodi, did she? Are you on the list? Good. Thank you. We'll start with Honorable Fatuma, then Honorable Hassan, then Honorable Ann Ito, then Honorable Kadogo, Honorable Maina, Honorable Alodi, and remember that you have 5 minutes, everyone.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. At the outset, I would like to start by thanking the chairperson of General Purpose Committee and the team for a very good report, but also the quality of this important activity on the role of women, youth, and other vulnerable groups in cross-border trade. As you listened, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, we all know that trade is very critical to regional integration. And even yesterday, we had a good interaction with the business community here in Kenya. And whereas East Africa is the fastest growing regional economic community in Africa, trade is still at 15% intra-EAC trade. And when we compare with Europe and Asia, intra-Asia and intra-Europe, Europe is close to 70%. So despite the fact that a lot of good work has been done, especially in the protocols that have been passed, such as the Customs Union, the Common Market Protocol, and various initiatives and mechanisms in place, still in our interaction with traders, in particular at Namanga border, from both sides, both Tanzania and Kenya, we learned that there are still tariff and non-tariff barriers. And there is also lack of harmonization in terms of domestic taxes, but there are also increased non-tariff barriers from time to time. Yet, these are not part either of the EAC customs regulations, nor even the partner states. There are also some reported cases of corruption. But overall, we also noted that in particular, Namanga border, the women who are doing cross-border traders, despite the fact that when it comes to cross-border trade, over 65% are women, but many of them do not even have facility where they can do their business. And they requested to have sheds. So I really wanted to urge the Council of Ministers that in the OSBP model, you can also integrate special facilities where women cross-border traders can sell their products, where they can breastfeed, feeding mothers can breastfeed, and it's not so expensive. So we really want you to integrate that. As you also saw in the case of Nimule, there are cases of women harassment. I also want to urge that a special window is created at both cross-border trade OSBPs, so that at least women can be heard. And finally, there is a lot of good work that has been done, but I think the council need to relook at the OSBP model, because we also noted that there are still so many trucks on the borders, yet the concept of cross-border trade is to ease the traffic. So despite the good work that has been done, I think more needs to be done to improve on cross-border trade across the region. but also empower youth, women, and other vulnerable groups. And finally, in the construction of EAC institutions, it's important that we integrate in the place for vulnerable groups, in particular, the persons with disabilities. With that, Right Honorable Speaker, I support the report and urge everyone to support the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Fatuma. The next is Honorable Hassan Omar.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I also raised to support the report. But first hasten to add that this particular report is in tandem with our country's better, the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, which was actually aimed at building or wealth creation at the very lowest prism of the society by providing access to credit, affordable credit in terms of accessible to ensure that people at the lowest prism can undertake the economic activities. Mr. Speaker, those who've been most marginalized in our societies, either by culture or by history, is actually women. And the only way we can enhance women's rights and women participation in politics is by bolstering the economic agenda. I think most of the times when you hear some of even this GBV, gender-based violence, particularly what we've been hearing in Kenya more recently, is largely because of the imperative that there is almost a gap in affluence between men and women. I think it is very unlikely when a woman has her own resources that even a man could dare to humiliate or to assault her. So therefore, what we need is to ensure that we continue to bridge that gap. We need to have more women in the wealth creation market, not just at the bottom of the economic prism. We need more and more women at the highest level of entrepreneurship. In Kenya, we have our own women entrepreneurs who've actually broken the glass ceiling. One, Tabitha Karanja, and a couple of others have laid a flagship in terms of women entrepreneurship. But as we wait for that, we must ensure that our young people continue to access credit. Maina Karobia here was brought into this assembly, part of that bottom-up economic transformation agenda, so that you can broaden opportunities for more young people in this country by creating, to ensure that you see like the Hustler Fund, which many Kenyans might not have understood. A Kenyan will tell you, I'm getting 1,000 shillings. What will I do with 1,000 shillings? It was not actually aimed for you. It was supposed to be like a revolving credit card for the people at the lowest prism of our society, that they can access credit at almost 6%, is it per annum, which translates to very little repayment on a day-to-day basis, and to cushion the women traders, youth traders, and those who borrow from these platforms, from Shylocks, who are charging them up to 10 to 15% a day. Give me 100 shillings, 1,000 Kenya shillings, you return 1,100, 20% credit, which translates to about 3,000 plus percent a year, was almost impossible for those of us who wanted to do business at that lowest prism to be able to do business. But to end with one of the most pertinent points, my dear sister Ndagiza, Honorable Ndagiza, talked about. For me, we just need to internalize the East African community and stop harassment of fellow Africans, period. A South Sudanese police officer, a Kenyan police officer, a Ugandan police officer, a Tanzanian police officer, a Rwandese police officer, a Somali police officer, a Burundian police officer, a DRC police officer must never harass another East African, ever. If you see in an East African, he shows you his documentation, you or her or whichever other authorities, be it the immigration, must give him or her all the kind of support necessary. And I think we need to stand tall when this harassment happens. Why am I saying this? Because half of this, the sabotage of all these common protocols, whatever these things that we are doing, are being undertaken by national institutions. We are being harassed by immigration officers who put corruption before the society or before East Africa. We are being harassed by KRA Revenue Authority officials. We must therefore end this harassment on East Africans. If you see an East African, you must treat him or her as a king or a queen. So therefore, as we finalize this, we must highlight in this parliament more and more. You see, you come and say broadly harassment. Sometimes, like we have done with what Honorable Ayerson has come with specific facts that I am willing to interrogate. You must come with specific facts and say police officer so-and-so at the Namanga border is harassing people. And therefore, once we start this issue of name and shame in this parliament, I'm telling you, we will correct this East African community. I beg to second.
Thank you, Honorable Hassan. Now, Honorable Dr. Ann Ito.
Guidance, Mr. Speaker. Guidance.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, given the time constraint that we have, and the usual practice in many parliaments where members of a committee do not have to contribute to the debate of the reports coming from that committee. Now, I realize that members of the General Purpose Committee are debating this report, and yet we are time constrained, and it is their report. I think that preference, is my view that preference should be given to those who are non-members so that then we can add value, maybe bring out information that has not been seen. Otherwise, if it is your report, really you are not adding value. I need your guidance, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Honorable members, we have Honorable Fatima Nagiza, who is a member of GP, and Honorable Alodi, who is also a member of GP. But the others are not, even minor. Are you from GP? So we will give the floor to Honorable Dr. Anito, then Honorable Kadogo. Then we will go to the next speakers. The member of GP will come later. Thank you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this debate. I actually rise to support the report. I really feel strongly about this report because I feel like it should have happened long time ago. When we talk about cross-border trade, women and youth, we don't actually understand what contribution they make to the welfare of their families. I had the opportunity to interact with some women groups who are traders in the Republic of South Sudan. And this is more so where things are really difficult when the economy is very poor or very bad. It's normally the women who comes in to rescue the households. And I realized through talking to them that 90% of the income generated from their businesses actually go all the way to wholly to the household. It goes into food, purchase of food, healthcare, education, rent, and social welfare. Now tell me if this is not the group that is holding up the East African community. Because we normally just put aside, we think it's very small, but it's very, very big. That support is very, very big, especially among the poor people. The women are at the center of the welfare. And we should take it that way. It's until when we take it that way that we will be able to take very responsible action to address the issue of what affects women businesses, whether it's cross-border or within the same partner state. The second area where I would want to comment is that because most of their money go to the welfare of their family, very often they do not have money saved to continue with their businesses or to even expand. Very often their businesses fail. And unfortunately, they do not have access to finances, and very often their actually pushed to borrow money from the Shylocks of the market, where they are charged up to 100% on what they borrow. And in fact, in South Sudan, the number of women who are in jail because they have borrowed from the market and they have not been able to pay. And that actually is a real issue because there are financial institutions there, but the conditions that are put cannot be met by the women in the market. And those are areas where we should actually pay attention to, make it easier for women to borrow. Because if you are going to be asking land titles and securities that the women don't have, they would never, ever be able to qualify for loan from the financial markets. The other area where there is a real concern is, a woman comes from one partner state, they have to change their money into dollars and then change it back to the money where, to the money of the respective partner state where they're going to buy. That way it exposes them to danger. There are some people at the border that they say, okay, I'll change the money for you. And then they get fake money. That's one. But also sometimes they are robbed. But as they change money from one currency to the other, they lose value of that money. So this waiting for the market monetary union is actually affecting the women very seriously. And the last area is knowledge. When women actually go to the border, very often they don't know what to do. And as a result, they are taken advantage of. I've heard of a woman who bought maize from Uganda when they got to Paselegu in Nimule. Somebody came and told, this maize is unfit for human consumption. And it was taken away from her. She did not know where to raise an issue. And of course, that maize may have not been unfit for human consumption. It's just that somebody may want to use that maize themselves. But the emphasis here is there is not enough knowledge of what to do at the border when they come with their goods. So this is an emphasis for what Honorable Ndagiza has raised. There need to be an office or a desk at the border where if a woman feels like they are cheated or doesn't know anything, they can go to so that they are assisted with the correct information so that they get the worth of the businesses that they are doing. Right, Honorable Speaker, I really support the report. I hope that there will be a follow-up to this and that the Council of Ministers would take seriously those issues that have been raised in the report, and that will begin to see a difference in the way businesses are done at the border, and that women will continue to trade freight, but also raise the welfare of their families. Right, Honorable Speaker, I beg to.
Now, Honorable Kadogo, 5 minutes maximum.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I stand to support the report on helping the women, the youth, the vulnerable groups on cross-border trade in the EAC region. The reason why I stand to support the report, the women and the youth, they really need assistance on the border. And we need to put back the information desks, which we had. We had the information desk for the EAC ministry. We even had the information desk for internal affairs, but of recent, those desks are no longer there. And indeed, those desks do help women because women need to get a lot of information which they lack, because while transacting business at the border, they need to get the information concerning the travels on the border, across the border. They need to get information concerning the exchange rates, because normally they are cheated on the border. And indeed, we need to
to put a lot of emphasis on implementation, because normally we come up with good laws and we don't implement them, because we had those resolutions of having those information desks at the borders, but we no longer have them. So I think the ministries, especially the ministries of EACs, they need to put their staff at the border so that they provide information, not only to the women, to the youth, and even those who may be in need of the information. Lastly, the women need to be protected. As you know that the borders mostly have travelers, and most of these travelers, sometimes they end up marrying these women. So the women end up having fatherless children. So I think we need to protect these women by finding a way of at least identifying their spouses, because most of them end up having children who are fatherless because they end up getting them from the travelers. Lastly, the women faces challenges of diseases, as you are aware that the borders have so many different groups of people. And as you remember also, COVID affected a lot people who were on the borders, because it involved people crossing from one country to another. So we need to look at that by protecting women, because they have challenges of getting diseases as a result of transacting businesses from the borders. Lastly, I think the women who are transacting business on the borders, we need to get for them special grants to support their small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we go to next. This should be the last group. And remember to add Honorable Alodi and Honorable Maina, then we close there. 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5, 10. Can I get the list? Honorable Dr. Oda, as you are standing, you can start. 5 minutes maximum.
Okay, thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. And I want to add my voice to also support this report on the assessment of the role of women, youth, and vulnerable groups, traders by women, youth traders. Right Honorable Speaker, as this community is based on people, it's people-centered and market-driven. Trade is very important for it, Right Honorable Speaker. And we know that trade in our region has a lot of challenges and a lot of difficulties. One of them is the non-tariff values, Right Honorable Speaker. These women traders, these youth traders, face a lot of trouble and a lot of problems when they want to excuse their trade. One of them, Right Honorable Speaker, is our authorities in the borders. You know, we have to educate them. We have to let them know about the custom union and the common market, because if they are not sensitized, they're really making a block for the traders. Right Honorable Speaker, there are many traders which are facing problems, especially when it comes to women, because women are vulnerable in many ways, but they need to put their food on table for their families.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I met on Busia, one stop border post. Some women, when we were crossing and doing our activity, agriculture activity, crossing from Jinja to, from Kisumu to Jinja, I asked these women, do you have any problem? They said, okay, for the movement, it is now more faster, but when it comes to us having some goods, and these women were not having any idea that these goods, when they're less than 2,000 USD, they're not supposed to be taxed. So she said that the authorities on the border, one stop border post, they argue with them and they bargain with them on prices. And this is a matter of education, right, Honorable Speaker. I have a complaint also from the people of South Sudan, and I'm very happy that our minister is here, right, Honorable Rebecca Kadaga. Our people face a lot of problem when they're crossing to illegal border, because sometimes, especially when they carry some powder milk, tin of powder milk, they are told that they don't have to carry even 2 tin. And sometimes when they carry some new clothes for personal use, less than maybe even 200 USD. This problem has been complained by many South Sudanese, and I used to educate them that these people on the border, they are not really well people, they are corrupt people, because this is not what the law is talking about. So we really need to sensitize our authorities on the border. We really need to sensitize even our people. The other problem, right, Honorable Speaker, is the lack of veterinary services. And when we were in Eala 4 also, we went through the tour. For me, as somebody who is a livestock expert, and that's my specialization, I was always looking at if there is a clinic, if there is any services to livestock. They were not, even those which were there, I think, on the border of Rwanda, were not well equipped. Right, Honorable Speaker, this region has a lot of livestock. There is cross-border of livestock which is taking place, and this livestock, if they are not inspected, right, Honorable Speaker, they have some transboundary diseases, they have some zoonotic diseases which even can infect people. That's why, right, Honorable Speaker, tomorrow I'm going to seek a leave for the ESC prevention and control of transboundary and zoonotic diseases. It is very important for this region after 20-something years to have a bill on this aspect. The other problem, right, Honorable Speaker, is that as the Council of Ministers are here, we really need to empower the gender department in this community. The gender department is unstaffed, is really understaffed, and also is very, is not well financed, because this is their role. This is the role of the gender department, and also the Eala Women Caucus needs to be empowered, right, Honorable Speaker, so that we as women, we can also help these vulnerable groups, and we can excuse our mandate with a lot of authority if we are given the support which we needed. Right, Honorable Speaker, I beg to support the report. Thank you.
Thank you for your contribution. Now we have Honorable Mary and Honorable Zipporah and Honorable Aisha.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, yesterday we had a very good interaction with cross-border traders and the community of business and industrialists in Kenya. And when it came to the traders that carry their goods across the borders, the usual cries of NTBs were very clear and prominent. Now, when it comes to women, of course, their problems even multiply by many folds because of obvious reasons. My view is that just like we have affirmative action in many areas of our operations, whether in economics, in education, whatever, it should also apply to trade. We know very well, even from simple observation, being at any border. You see a lot of women carrying goods, even on their feet. You see a lot of children doing business across the borders. In fact, that's where you see a lot of them, apart from the markets. You see a lot of women and children across the borders, particularly the small trade, the petty trading, where people are carrying kilos of goods across the border. Now, these are the people that our community should be aiming at helping, assisting. For example, we discovered that there's nowhere where women can rest and feed their children, and yet many of them are women who cannot afford to employ others to look after their children while they go to trade. So many of them are carrying their babies at the back, and yet there is nowhere where they can change diapers or nappies, whatever, or nurse their children. So we realize that there is a lot of suffering being told. And this is not the first meeting we have had with women traders across the borders. Actually, in Eala 4, we had like 2. And what we listened to yesterday from the Kenyan women traders is the same, nothing different. So we need to put a affirmative action for women traders and children as well, because they are still vulnerable by the mere fact that they are of the right age. And this has to be properly assessed, professionally done, so that children who are underage and yet have to engage in such work in order to survive are helped by our community. And yet they bring in a lot of revenue. If you look at this report, you realize that they collect, or they make about 100 million per month, at least in Uganda shillings, on a Regu border. So that's a lot of contribution that this group of vulnerable people make, and yet they are not assisted. In other words, their role is very prominent, important, even without collecting statistics. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, we tend to get conflicting statistics. Some reports will say the EAC inter-trade, inter-partner state trade is at 20%, 25%. Others will say 15%. I would like to urge the Council of Ministers to find and establish which one of the figures is actually right. To me, I see a lot of trade going on across the borders. And when I look, yesterday, one of the business people actually made a report. He heads one of the business councils, and he said, if you go to our supermarkets, in most cases now you find East African goods. Processed or unprocessed, you find East African goods. Whether it's fresh foods, whether it's processed goods, it's actually mainly East African. Now, when you then look at the 15%, for me, I have question marks about that. And therefore, I would like to request that we get a figure that is more authentic and current than lying between a difference of 10 marks. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I have been saying this. When you sit in any group of East Africans, whether leaders or traders or educators, whatever name it, we tend to be speaking with the same language. We all yearn to be East Africans. We all yearn to benefit from the common goods, the free markets, be able to access our markets. But when it comes to actual finding out what is happening, then we find a lot of hassles, a lot of hurdles that East Africans cannot trade properly. What is the problem? We need to do more research on that so that we can have a focused attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, the next.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I stand to support this motion from General Purpose on the role of women and youth, together with the vulnerable groups in the cross-border trade in the EAC region. Right, Honorable Speaker, allow me to appreciate the Council of Ministers seated with us here today, that as we speak today, we know whatever we are speaking in this house, Right, Honorable Speaker, gets to the right quarters. And I know together with all our efforts, we'll come to actualize what we normally speak about in this particular house. Right, Honorable Speaker, when we talk about women and trade, like my first speakers have spoken about, women are the only people who can be trusted with any amount of money. Women, given the opportunity, can actually work on the economy of the world.
My goodness, maybe some.
And Right, Honorable Speaker, you can see the people laughing at the men. And you know what, Right, Honorable Speaker? Give my brother here 1,000 shillings and give my sister here 1,000 shillings. You will know the one for my sister here will be accounted to the last cent. While my brother here will see what the 1,000 shilling and see it as nothing and spend it in 5 minutes. So, Right, Honorable Speaker, there are issues and the general purpose. I want to thank the chair that actually what they have come up with are issues that are hindering women and youth in the cross-border business. Right, Honorable Speaker, the issue of peace that is not prevailing in the EAC community is one hindrance that is making potential women not to really be maximized or utilized in terms of market. And Right, Honorable Speaker, I would also say that we can use the women to bring peace across our community, Right, Honorable Speaker. The only issue that is that there is lack of awareness. Most women in the East African community, Right, Honorable Speaker, even from my country, Kenya, where I come from, they really do not know what EAC is, what it has, and what they can do with EAC. So, Right, Honorable Speaker, with our Council of Ministers here, when they'll be generating a budget for the EAC, I urge them to consider putting a budget for creating awareness, especially to our women traders. Like my sister colleague talked about women who are taken advantage of. They do not know what amount of money they pay for certain goods. And also, Right, Honorable Speaker, I just in Malaba here, where it borders Kenya and Uganda, when women go there to buy goods, like from across Uganda, there are middlemen in between here who actually take advantage of them and solicit money for them to remove the goods that they have bought from Uganda to cross to Kenya, because women are not aware that they can cross to Uganda, buy the goods, and come with the same goods. And Right, Honorable Speaker, yesterday when we were with the traders, we also heard about the hindrances that not all people have the East African passport. And that is why we are urging that if they can allow that, even those without a passport, to use their partner states' identification cards to cross the borders, because it's even easier to identify me as a Kenyan with my identity card than even the passport that anybody can get it, and you may not know the origin of the person. Right, Honorable Speaker, another issue that is there is the lack of access of women to the credit facilities. Right, Honorable Speaker, I come from Kenya, whereby as a woman to access a credit facility, first of all, if you are lucky to have a husband, you have to get permission from that husband to borrow loan. And the documents that are needed is, for example, a title deed where women don't hold lands in Kenya. Another one, maybe you say the number of cows in the boma and the cows belong to the man. So right, Honorable Speaker, I think we need to have an affirmative action to find a way to allow the East African women to access the credit facilities so that they can do this cross-border business in an harmonious manner. Finally, right, Honorable Speaker, let us provide security for our women. My colleague said men take advantage of them to give them children that they did not plan for, but these same men go look for these women with money because they know they have money. That is when they hang around these women. Thank you. I submit and I support.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we have Honorable Aisha.
So thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this floor. I would like to congratulate the GP committee for the report they present here. And I do recognize the role, the important role which is played by women in trade and especially cross-border trade. But however, right, Honorable Speaker, while we're looking to the study which has been done by the World Bank in 2 years, in the last 2 years, it's been shown that this woman, which is doing the cross-border trade, they are illegal. Around 70% are illegal. So this is really very, very important to highlight here, because as we are looking to number of women who are doing trade at those borders, and we have a high number of illegal, this is very critical while we're looking to the security of this woman, to the other things which I've been talking about here. So meaning that we need really to increase awareness to let these people to understand that there is many conditions which have been put in place by EAC, but also their rights, and let these people to be registered as it is, must be at the borders and do business in a legal way. So it is also here to highlight that when we're talking about the figures, especially figures on borders, with all those women, maybe it is all those illegal women who do not have the numbers, and still the number of the activities not visible. Right, Honorable Speaker, I would like here to emphasize on the literacy of those women. We have seen that they have a level which is very low when we're talking to literacy. So it is really important to see how we can harmonize all those laws, can harmonize all those regulation in a way that they can understand very well those regulation considering the trade, and help those women to understand what they have to do while we're talking about the trade. So finally, we have also to think about the security. It has been said here by my colleagues. How is the security? How is the sanitary situation on the borders to help our mothers and the sisters to avoid some disease while they are on those borders? So I would like to support the report, because many have been said by my colleagues, and by this I submit, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Aisha. Now we go to Honorable Clement, then Louis Vanga, then Sadia.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. I want to thank the chair of General Purpose Committee and the members of this committee. I want to tell them that I support the report. They made a elaborated report on the role of women, youth, and vulnerable groups in cross-border trade in the EAC region. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, women in EAC constitute a significant demographic, forming more than 50% of the population. In Rwanda, women are 51.8%. Regarding the youth, they nearly constitute 70% of the Rwanda population. I think this is a good weight. In EAC, women and youth can boost social and economic development of EAC. Right, Honorable Speaker, honorable members, about the challenges faced by women, youth, and vulnerable groups in the present report of GP, they were reported cases of lawlessness on the Republic of South Sudan. Most of women traders who export agricultural products to the Republic of South Sudan face security challenges while in South Sudan. I want to ask a number of questions about this statement. How many cases reported and what was the way forward? Type of security challenges they are facing. What are the measures to be put in place to facilitate, to secure women traders in South Sudan? I support the report and the Right Honorable Speaker and the honorable members. Those are my comments on the report.
You have utilized only 2 minutes. Maybe others will follow you. Now, Honorable Wivanga.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I also rise to support the report of the General Purpose Committee on the role of women, youth, and vulnerable groups in cross-border trade in the EAC region. The findings of this oversight activity, specifically the challenges faced by these groups, have highlighted some very critical areas that need to be improved to facilitate cross-border trade. The report, for example, mentioned periodic flooding at the Elu-Nimule one-stop border post. And mention has been made of the absence of convenient amenities for women at the one-stop border posts. And I imagine it will be the same in almost all the border posts. Right, Honorable Speaker, when we talk about gender mainstreaming in all sectors and climate change mainstreaming, they are not just buzzwords. In this case, while we appreciate all the good findings and what has been done in the one-stop border posts to improve trade, and we really do appreciate them, by considering the challenges of that the General Purpose Committee have found, I recommend that the one-stop border post model mainstream gender. I recommend gender mainstreaming and climate change mainstreaming in the one-stop border post model. This is a recommendation that I make. A number of honorable members have talked about how gender can be mainstreamed. We've talked about the breastfeeding facilities and other facilities which members have talked about. And on climate change mainstreaming, I recommend that to deal with the problem of flooding and any other issues that will be found in other one-stop border posts, and to ensure basically long-term resilience, that we incorporate climate change considerations into the infrastructure development of the one-stop border posts. And by this, I mean flood-resistant buildings, for example, stormwater retention, and all the other facilities around the one-stop border posts to facilitate trade. So in other words, every time I stand up to talk about climate change mainstreaming, this is one of the examples of how it can be mainstreamed in this particular sector, but in all other sectors. So with those few words, Right Honorable Speaker, I support the report of the General Purpose Committee. Thank you.
Thank you for 3 minutes. Now, Sadia.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. I would first want to appreciate the General Purpose Committee for the excellent recommendation of the report. So, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I really appreciate the report and especially the recommendation on the access to financial loans. Like for instance, let me say it for me as a youth from South Sudan. I remember of my story in 2017, we were trained and everything because, given the conflict we had, so the issue of, having youths unemployed, and also the majority of us, the majority of South Sudanese, more than 70% are youths. So given that, to access loan, it was a problem. But during the peace agreement, like the youths and the women, like for us youths, we demanded for fund, which is called Youth Development Enterprise Fund. So like up to now, that one has never materialized. So I believe like, we youths of South Sudan, like I'm talking on behalf of the youths, like, most of us, we really have ambitions of starting up something, but then the issue of finances. I remember like in 2018, they registered for me company. Like most of us, we were a registered company and we were attached to banks. But then to access the loan was an issue because like you need to have some document. Like me, by then I was referred to Equity Bank. But then for me to proceed with them, I could not. So it's really an issue. The issue of the access to financial loan is very crucial. I can see like from the experience of Rwanda and the experience of Tanzania, there are facilities which is, making it possible for the youth to access. So I believe in the spirit of integration, we can learn from each other. So like if another country is doing best, why not to be implemented in another country? So I believe the council will urge the council members of each partner states, at least like for our case, we need, a speed up in that. Youth Development Enterprise Fund. If that is actualized, for sure, I can see our youth can fully participate in the integration because our question is, what is our benefit in this integration? This is a burdening question that has been, true to our mind as South Sudanese. Because but when we have such a system to enable, to give us enabling environment where we can participate, then I think it will be so meaningful for us, our youth, to be players in the game of integration. And the second thing is about the language. We need to localize, When we localize the language, it becomes like more easier. Because like now, if it is like for us, our side, it's local Arabic. If it is localized in that context and the other side Swahili, it becomes more easier for them to know the benefit. So I believe this recommendation really serves as crucial to the integration purpose of EAC. So with this, Right Honorable Speaker, I submit.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Sadia. Now, Honorable James Milia, and then Honorable Francine.
Honorable Speaker, joining my colleagues, want to appreciate the work done by the committee, and I support it. Honorable Speaker, I support the report, but wish to make a few comments on it, and I would refer your Honorable Parliament to page number 5, where the committee talked about Elegu Nimule border trade. Honorable Speaker, I've seen an interest on comments made by the committee when they talked about the confusion that is coming within the women and youth because of language barriers because that side of South Sudan, Arabic is the main language, while on this side of Uganda, it's more of English. I've seen an argument made by the committee proposing Swahili to be the main language within the region. Honorable Speaker, you will well refer the pronouncement made by the African Union, making Swahili the language of the African Union. It's my urge to the Council of Ministers present that we should now take upon ourselves to make a challenge that East Africa should be really a Swahili dominating community. I would share a bit of how Tanzania fought against tribalism and wars and everything through Swahili. If I stand today in this parliament, I can tell you with confidence that I don't know what tribe Honorable, my colleague from Tanzania, Honorable Dr. Shogo is. This is because of Swahili. Africa will only come out wars, tribal wars, if we have one African language that dominating. I'm told in South Sudan there are about 64 tribes, Nuel, Kolo, Nadi, Kakua, Pafulu, Bari, and many others. I truly support the report and wish the Council of Ministers to really push Swahili to be the language of the region. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, if you go to the Namanga border trade between Kenya and Tanzania, there is a gleam of hope. The reports tell us that there is an increase in business of 7.3%. This is really good. But however, there are quite a number of issues they raised as well on page 12 of the report, saying like Kenya traders are prohibited to trade in Tanzania. The spirit of the government of Tanzania, I might not speak to it, but what I know, if Kenya is not the number one investor in Tanzania, it must be number two. The spirit of the country truly welcomes investment within the region, and Kenya is highly supported. The spirit of our national leaders, including the President, High Excellence, Right, Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, support East Africans, and Tanzania will always stand for this. Honorable Speaker, I've also seen in the report, there is, especially on page 12, I beg your indulgence to read it. There was on Roman 9 that says there were reported cases of Tanzanian women traders who were conned and lost their goods to Kenyan traders. All the attempts they made to be paid, their money were in vain. I call upon the authorities in Kenya to really put their efforts to help these women have a right to be heard and their rights to recover their goods or money. Honorable Speaker, finally, as we welcome the new, this report is about women, and as we welcome the new SG, who's a woman, I can say with confidence that we in Tanzania have tested the leadership of women, of Her Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan. We're happy about it. And this is we're seeing a new future for the community and we support it. Asante sana. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable James Media. And the next is a woman MP. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I raise just to, first of all, thank the committee for a good report. It is touches on a matter which is very important for the region. It is talking about trade, again on intertrade, but now specifically on cross-border trade for women. Right Honorable Speaker, When I see the matter on the table, I was so passionate, but because this morning we were in other committees' work, and the report was shared around midday, it was not really easy for members to be able to read the report, to internalize, but also to be able to make some research where it is necessary so that we give a justice to this report when it comes to debate. So my recommendation is one, to urge the clerk office as much as possible to let the report be shared at least 24 hours before, so that members will be having time to read, having time to share, so that in our debate, we will not be having only members of the committee to be able to debate because they have the matter on hand, but also other members to be able to give their contribution. I write to submit, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Now it's time for the GP members who will try to use only 3 minutes because they have worked on this report. They know it. So we start by Honorable Alodi, then Honorable Maina, then Honorable Musamali. 3 minutes.
Yes, I'll be quick, Right Honorable Speaker. The difficulty in going last is that most of the points have already been made in addition to what was already in the report, but I wanted to highlight 2 main things that, because our chair had read a summarized report, I just wanted to highlight a few things that I thought were very important. On the general recommendations that we've made as a committee, there is a specific recommendation that urges the Council of Ministers to consider the revision of the simplified trade regime threshold from the $2,000. In this report, it says to 3,000, but of course it can be determined as they may wish. And this is as an affirmative action towards supporting cross-border traders, especially women and youth. So I wanted to highlight this specific observation because I think it's instrumental in empowering youth and marginalized groups to engage in cross-border trade. As you know, goods valued under 2,000 are traded tax-free under the simplified regime, which provides, I think, an entry point for youth traders. But however, I think there is room for revision to accommodate the changing economic realities and the growth potential of youth enterprises. So I think we should definitely consider this threshold to ensure that it aligns with the evolving dynamics of cross-border trade and reflects the needs of young entrepreneurs seeking to expand their businesses. The second one is around capacity building and empowerment. In terms of empowering youth traders, we were looking at education, of course, and skills training and access to finance as paramount to their success. But I want to also call upon young people to organize themselves. I think we should definitely push for young people to organize into associations and cooperatives because this can play a crucial role in identifying their needs and of course pooling resources and advocating for their interests. And this is mainly when it comes to things like marketplace for these cooperatives to be able to access the market at the borders. So by working collectively, the associations can leverage their collective bargaining power and access funding opportunities, and of course amplify their voices in dialogues relating to trade facilities. With that, I submit, Right Honorable.
Thank you.
Speaker.
Thank you for your contribution. Now we have Honorable Maina.
Yes, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. I want first of all to start with congratulating the GP committee led by our very able chairman.
You congratulate yourself.
Yes, led by our chairman. He has led us well in this committee. But allow me to say this, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to offer solutions in the issues that have been discussed. I know the tragedy of speaking at the tail end is that you might repeat what has been discussed. But, Mr. Speaker, when we went to Elegu, I cared to listen to the women there and the youth. And among the issues that were raised, and I like that Honorable Hassan started his submission with this issue of access to credit card, or access to credit facility. I came and I actually even proposed in that meeting that what if these women and youth in Elegu are organized around cooperatives? Because I believe it is upon us as office bearers to stop looking at people complaining and we organize them. Because if they continue agonizing, they will agonize and our relevance will be over. So I want to call upon the Council of Ministers, and I like the fact that they are here, that they need to take deliberate steps around organizing women and youth and any other actor in our cross-border trade. We organize them around cooperatives, circles, so that they can be able to raise resources among themselves. If banks and other financial institutions are finding no financial sense in setting up their branches there, I think it is upon governments to empower these women with financial literacy and also organize them around circles and groupings so that they can have what you would call table banking. Table banking is a successful concept in Kenya, and I've seen our first lady in Kenya has been a champion of this space. I think the ministers, the Council of Ministers, can take up this role so that they organize our women and youth who are in cross-border trade. The second solution, Right Honorable Speaker, is on the issue of storage rooms. Women and youth and even men traders, they were complaining of their products being destroyed because of taking a lot of time before they access market. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to challenge the Council of Ministers, particularly the Sectoral Council on trade and investment and industry in our region, rather than concentrating on the market of European Union and China and America. Please build capacity at our local level here by building storage rooms for the product of these women and youth, so that those products can get market at any given time. Because that is the challenge that people have been getting in our borders or in our stop border post. And I think, Right Honorable Speaker, it is incumbent upon governments to at least empower these women by building storage rooms for their products.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. And I wish to support the report by the GP committee. Thank you.
You support your report. You support yourself. Okay. Now, Honorable Msamadi, and then we go to the ministers.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. I'm a member of GP's General Purpose Committee, and probably many of the points have been put forward, but I'm rising for purpose of emphasis on one point which I feel that it was not given justice. But before I say that, Right Honorable Speaker, I also, on behalf of men, I want to put this record very clear. It was alluded to by the Honorable Zipporah that if you get 1,000, either shillings or dollars, and you gave it to Honorable Garang, who was seated there, and then another 1,000, you gave it to Honorable Jeridin, you will find that you will get Jeridin has it, and Garang has already used his or has misused it. But I want to put it very clear that she forgot to inform this house that when you give the two money, 1,000, 1,000, Geraldine is going to get the 1,000 from Garanga and we will have it. And Garanga will give it to her and she will have it. So you will get Geraldine with 2,000, Garanga has nothing. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. But the point which I want to make here is on the issue of the exchange rate as one of the challenges which was faced in the cross-border traders, Honorable Speaker. It featured both in Elegu and even in Namanga, even the other borders, Honorable Speaker. However, we also discussed it and said one of the solutions will be the issue of the introduction of the single currency, the East African single currency. That means implementation and the operationalization of the monetary union. As you are aware, the current roadmap is that we shall probably achieve it in 2031. So we think it seems to be far. So I wanted to just add that on the specific recommendations, we make it point number 9. We even did it. I don't know why it was not captured, either by omission or whatever the case. So the proposal here, Right Honorable Speaker, is that that we urge the Council of Ministers to fast track the implementation and the operationalization of the monetary union to solve the problem of the fluctuation of the foreign exchange rates in East Africa. It is not too late, Honorable Speaker, for Council to do that, to even bring forward that timetable from 2031 to maybe even 2 years from now, because even the euro in the European Union, they didn't start with every country. They started with a few and then it went on to be implemented by others. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I support our report.
Thank you, Honorable Msamali. Then I give the floor to the ministers if they want to contribute. They have the floor. Yes, Honorable Minister from Uganda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and the members. I want to thank the committee for the report and of course appreciate the comments of the members. I just have a few areas. I want to say with relation to the issue of the monetary union, I think it's a shame that we have failed to meet the deadline. If you can imagine some poor Ugandan trying to speak poor Lingala at Mpondwe, trying to speak French, they don't understand it, they don't understand Swahili, but they're trading at Mpondwe. Another group of Ugandans trying to speak Acholi in South Sudan. Actually. You know, so it's a bit of a problem. So I hope that my colleagues and I can bite the bullet, take a decision on this issue. They understand what I mean, this issue of the monetary union. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, there are specific issues for Uganda. I've noted the need for the border post at Elegu to remain open 24/7. I've noted the need for a new parking yard to decongest the station, the need for a master plan to mitigate flooding at Nimule and Elegu, and also the absence of banks at the border. All those are issues that we have been asked to address as the two countries. The other one is the absence of changing facilities for the children and the mothers. Mr. Speaker, I've been campaigning since I joined this ministry. I've been campaigning to have, even at the Eala, to have a daycare facility for these members. So I challenge you, Mr. Speaker, I would like to see that you actualize this for these people. This is because the people who are drawing the designs for the one-stop border post are all men. They don't have children. They don't travel with children. So they don't know what people go through as they're traveling with children, young ones, spoiling their diapers and so on. And then on customer care, Mr. Speaker, I've been through the border post at Katuna, at Mutukula, at Mpondwe, Busia, Malaba. I'm due to go to Elegu in April, but I found that
the customer care desk is either not there or it is on the third floor, meaning that a PWD cannot climb there. Old people cannot climb there. So even the designs of this border posts need to be addressed. Yes, the need for circles. Yes, I've also tried to speak to that in my government. Now, concerning general recommendation number 7 on the implementation of the integration roadmap, I agree, and I would like to add that the countries that have not yet carried out national consultations should do so. We had a timeline, but Burundi, Kenya, and Uganda have done it. The rest have not, and they show no intentions of doing it. So as you talk about integration, members, remind your governments, the ones you have not mentioned, that they have not carried out their national consultations. On the issue of the simplified trade regime, one thing I found common at all the borders, there's no sensitization. No one is sensitizing the population. And in my borders, I instructed the officials at the border to start the sensitization. I'm going to check whether they've done that. However, at the last meeting of the council, Secretarial Council of Trade and Finance, the Business Council wrote a proposal that they want the threshold raised to $5,000, not 3, which has been mentioned here. So I think as we meet with my colleagues, we shall decide between the 3 and the 5. To close the gender gap, very, very important. Improving the border posts generally with facilities, I agree. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for your contribution. If we can now give the floor to the chair.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker and honorable members, for your submission in support of the report of the Committee on General Purpose on the activity that we carried out. Honorable members, very many cardinal roles to play in terms of implementing the treaty for the establishment of the East African Community, and one of which is the role of women, youth, and vulnerable groups, especially in trade-related matters. And we basically designed this work and this activity to answer to a call that in the financial year 2023-2024, we allocated money for the Secretariat to do an activity in promoting cross-border trade, especially for women and the youth. As we speak up to today, that money has been reallocated to a different activity, and the community deliberately decided to do the work that would have been done by the Secretariat. And this is something that Council should take note of and supervise your Secretariat, which is also ours, in conducting activities that we have appropriated funds to. And of course, we have cut across many of the activities that the committee is tasked with. We have done health-related activities. Now we have done women-related activities. We will very soon conduct an activity on education, sports. All this falls within the purview of the Committee on General Purpose, and we pledge to, if funds allow, to conduct the rest. Honorable members, as also others were submitting, the one-stop border post has also caused loss of income for some women, because they're also complaining that now traders and the transporters cross very fast. They don't take some time across the borders to improve trade. So you can see that one-stop border post is also good, but as well somewhere there is loss of income. And I also want to thank the Right Honorable Minister for saying the increment in the simplified trade regime from 2,000 to 5,000. Honorable members, these women have already, in our interaction, they have already hit the 2,000 mark. Actually, their income increased beyond 2,000. So it's good if we are able to raise the simplified trade regime amount to at least even 10,000. So that, because if you look at what the customs officials were saying, they are saying these small scale traders in a year, they almost get over is it 1 billion Uganda shillings? That is illegal. So you can see that if we try to encourage, then definitely we shall be having more of the youth and the women definitely trading and of course improving their socioeconomic status. And honorable members, I would like to thank the following people. Honorable Ambassador Fatuma Dagiza for contributing. Honorable Hassan Omar, Honorable Dr. Annie Cho, Honorable Kadogo Veronica, Honorable Dr. Wada Jeremiah, Honorable Mary Mujenyi, Honorable Zipporah Kering, Honorable Aisha, Honorable Clement Sagabatare, Honorable Caroline Vivanga, Honorable Sadia Sebit, Honorable James Milea, Honorable Tazana Francine, Honorable Lalodi, Honorable Maina Karobia, Honorable Paul Musamali, then the Right Honorable Rebecca Kadaga, the council member for, and then also I want to thank the members who are men and sandwich themselves in contributing because most of the contributors were women. So I also want to thank myself for being part of it. And Right Honorable Speaker for giving us the opportunity to conduct this activity, the clerks for their work well done in facilitating us. We appreciate, and hopefully we shall do the same. There was an issue about Kiswahili. I also want to say, Honorable James, the same thing happened. We appropriated money for the Sectoral Council on Legal and Judicial Affairs to the Office of the CTC to conduct some trainings and to convene meeting of the Sectoral Council on Legal Judicial Affairs. Again, that money has been denied to the Office of the Legal Counsel to the Office of the CTC to conduct that activity. So this is the situation we are finding ourselves in. Ministers, please help us move this community forward if we have to achieve the greater vision that our forefathers envisioned about the EAC. I thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair. This motion, this report has been supported by everybody, but I had given the floor to 16 members, but more than 10, 12 were women, and 2 were from youth, meaning that they have contributed enough. So now, Honorable Francine raised an issue about 2 days, 48, 24 hours before they get reports. This issue, I think it's about the clerks of the committees, the committee members. It's upon you to submit your reports on time. And we have been insisting on this. It is embarrassing to me, to everyone, when you have to contribute or to comment on a report that we have just received. Please, honorable members and clerks, submit your report on time. With this, I put the question that the report of the Committee on General Purpose on the assessment of the role of women, youth, and the vulnerable groups in cross-border trade in EAC region be adopted. Those in favor say ayes. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Item number 6 on the order paper. Item number 6. Motion on liberalization and domestication of EAC airspace.
Honorable Musamali Paul to move his motion.
Right Honourable Speaker, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity again, and also for allowing this motion to be moved. I'm standing here to move a motion for a resolution of the Assembly recommending to the Council of Ministers and the partner states to expedite the liberalization and the domestication of the EAC airspace. This motion is moved under Article 49, 2D, 51, 59, 1, 89, and 92 of the treaty, and the Rule 26 of the Rules of Procedure of the Assembly. Honourable Speaker, I beg to move.
Seconders. Honorable Kakoza, Honorable Aisha, Honorable Kennedy, Honorable Omar, and others. But you, Honorable Kennedy is with you. He's a joint mover. Good. So now, Honorable Msamali, you can justify your motion.
Honourable Speaker, I would have said it from the onset. This motion is co-sponsored by me and the Honorable Kennedy Musyoka Kalonzo. Whereas under Article 89 of the treaty, partner states undertook to evolve coordinated, harmonized, and complementary transport policies, improve and expand the existing transport links, and establish new ones in order to facilitate and promote the movement of traffic within the community. Aware and whereas under Article 92, the partner states specifically committed to A, harmonize their policies on civil aviation to promote the development of safe, reliable, efficient, and economically viable civil aviation. B, take necessary steps to facilitate the establishment of joint airspace, of joint air services, and the efficient use of aircraft, and steps towards the enhancement of air transportation within the community. C, liberalize the granting of air traffic rights for passengers and cargo operations with a view to increasing efficiency. And D, coordinate the flight schedules of their designated airlines. Aware that since the collapse of the first community and the dismantling of the East African Airways, partner states have established national airlines and registered and licensed private airlines to facilitate movement of passengers throughout the community, including Kenya Airways, Rwanda Air, Air Tanzania, and Uganda Airlines, and several private airlines. Acknowledging that states have made huge and commendable strides in the development of the common airspace and the air transport within the community, appreciating the tremendous work done by the community in ensuring the safety and security of the airspace through the East African Civil Aviation Safety and Security Oversight Agency, CASOA, inspired by the commitments of partner states made alongside other African Union member states under the Declaration of Yamoussoukro on a new African air transport policy, commonly known as the Yamoussoukro Declaration, which promotes the removal of all restrictions on access, capacity, frequency, and tariffs, and the exercise of aviation freedom rights, including granting one country's carrier the privilege to enter another country's airspace and to land there in certain circumstances. Noting the urgent need for flexible and convenient transport with the shorter travel times and increased flights to facilitate the increased trade opportunities under the African Continental Free Trade Area and the tourism and business potential of hosting the 2027 African football competition through the East Africa Pamoja bid in the largest capital, business, diplomatic, and tourist cities in East Africa, including Dar es Salaam, Arusha, and Zanzibar in Tanzania, Nairobi and Eldoret in Kenya, and Kampala and Hoima in Uganda, convinced that liberalization and domestication of the East African airspace will create new airline routes and greater connectivity of the community, leading to shorter travel times, greater convenience, and savings for the East Africans, and will stimulate trade and boost tourism. Aware that under Article 49(2)(d) of the treaty, the Assembly may discuss any matter pertaining to the community and make recommendations. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Assembly as follows: that in accordance with Article 49(2)(d), 89 and 92 of the treaty for the establishment of the East African Community, the Assembly A recommends to the Council of Ministers and Partner States, 1, to expedite the liberalization and domestication of the EAC airspace. 2, to declare the EAC airspace as one common airspace for all airlines registered and licensed by the partner states. 3, to consider expanding the mandate of the East African Civil Aviation Safety and Security Oversight Agency, CASOA, to include coordination of airlines and flight schedules of airlines operating within the community. B, urgently calls on national and private airlines operating in the community to coordinate their flight schedules as required by Article 92(3)(g) of the treaty in order to promote the availability of flexible and convenient travel within the community. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move. And as noted earlier, Honorable Speaker, since the motion is co-sponsored, I have only made the presentation of I've moved the motion. My colleague, the Honorable Kalonzo, will make the justification. I beg to move.
Thank you. Honorable Kalonzo to justify the motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I want to thank my co-sponsor of this motion. I will try to be brief and just highlight a few things that I think the Council and this House needs to be cognizant of. Firstly, right honorable members and honorable colleagues, travel within our region is unnecessarily expensive, and it is this expense that this motion hopes to cure. Just as I was sitting here, I quickly checked how much a flight from here to Dubai was. I discovered it is 37,000 Kenya shillings, while a flight to visit our neighbors who are members in this House to DRC is 100,000 Kenya shillings. So really, if we're talking of integration, we really need to look at this issue of our airspace. Secondly, my co-sponsor had also mentioned about the joint bid. And in the interest of benefiting East Africans and for the success of this tournament, where we realize different people may want to follow their teams wherever it's playing, it is also crucial that we facilitate and enable seamless travel to some of these areas. As it stands now, if you ask some of us, how do you get a flight to Hoima? I'm not sure we'd be able to find one, or if you find one, it may have to be an international flight where you go to a different jurisdiction just to fly back to our jurisdiction, which is a very unfortunate trait. Thirdly, one of the things this motion also seeks to cure is the non-tariff barrier of travel within our region. This House will be aware there are a number of protocols that we have signed, such as free movement of people, goods and services, the customs protocol. And yet when it comes to our airspace, we seem to not liberalize it. It is also important for this House to note that whereby some partner states have airlines, we should not be misled to think we're in competition. What this motion is simply seeking to cure is that although we have our national airlines, the purpose of a national airline is to connect the capital to other capitals. So in interest of facilitating our one area tourism visa, what this motion is simply saying, well, we don't care where you start your journey, but since you're in the region, please also visit, and it's easy to do so, some of our partner states. And I also agreed with my co-sponsor on the crucial issue of CASOA. However, I'd want the council to really take an interest that if they are to fund CASOA, let them do so. But if they are unable, until we become a federal one republic, then let it be managed by the partner states. But this motion is so crucial to curing these injustices and these tariff barriers. And I hope that this House will be able to pass it. And I'll just conclude on giving one example that happened in Kenya. You know, when we say we are one people, one destiny. I'll give an example. Not too long ago, we had a vice president of Kenya, and his brother from the same two parents was a minister in Uganda. Now you can imagine for him to visit his brother, he needed clearance from the head of state, and he's just really going across to visit his relatives. So, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, I urge you to internalize this motion and pass it, and we look forward for a council bill that then makes this a reality. I submit, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Kennedy. The motion on the floor is that this assembly do resolve to urge the EAC Council of Ministers and the partner states to expedite the liberalization and domestication of the EAC space. The debate is open. Clerks, we will give the floor to
I have an opportunity.
the seconder. No, clerk, get ready though. Okay, good. So we start. I hope that those who are contributing are not no, it's not about report. We start by, do you have women MPs? We start, yes, Honorable Alodi.
Right, Honorable Speaker, the procedure of a motion, I don't know your guidance, but I think this is a motion which has a seconder. And
we start with Honorable Alodi, then Honorable Matthias.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Then we'll go on the left, Honorable Dodo Dongo, Honorable Kakoza, Honorable Msamali, Honorable Namara, then Honorable Blacks. Are you taking it? Have you? You have the floor. You should even start to have the floor. And then who's the next? Honorable James, then Honorable Omar, and Honorable Kala from DRC. And I think we'll stop there. It'll be enough. 5 minutes. We start with Honorable Clark. Give me the list. Alodi. Ladies first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And thank you for the opportunity. Mine will be quick. I'm actually seeking clarification from the movers of this motion of what they intend to mean by liberalization and domestication, because as far as I know, those are two contrasting, basically those are contrasts. When you talk about liberalization, of course, you're opening your airspace to foreign carriers and competition, but domestication is essentially protecting the national carriers that are in that airspace. So which one is it? Is it liberalization or is it domestication? Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give the floor to Honorable Dongo, then Honorable Namara.
Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I need your protection from Ambassador, who is signaling to me that it is his chance, and maybe I'll seek your guidance, Right Honorable Speaker.
Ambassador Matthias. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I raise first of all to support this motion. Right Honorable Speaker, when we see what is happening within EAC partner states, first of all, we only stick on what they normally call BASA, bilateral air service. And this is really very hindering the promotion and impact on their citizens. Indeed, at the same time, this doesn't allow different airlines to improve their productivity and efficiency. Normally, when we visit different airports, by the way, we see that our different friends who are there for the organization, they don't even take care of passengers. Sometimes they look at you as if you are a stranger. So this is really linked to this not liberalization of this air service. How can we respond better to changes in our market demand? This is key. How can we continue to do things, to do our business as usual in terms of this industry? Partner states are still now requiring what they normally call the overflight clearance. This is very critical, and this is hindering that industry. You fly from Nairobi to Kigali, you fly from Nairobi to Juba, you fly from Nairobi to Kampala, you have to apply for an overflight. And this is within EAC, where we talk of free movement of people, free movement of goods. And this affects, again, the fares on the tickets. When we look at the fees, which are charged on different tickets, you will see that even the fees are higher than the real cost of the ticket. But if we can really go through this liberalization of this air service, I think that we will have this reduced. I talk of the cost, and the companies themselves, they work on their productivity, their efficiency, and for a better service delivery. So, Right Honorable Speaker, without taking much time, I will support this motion and urge the Council of Ministers to look into this. We will tap in and will be the best beneficiaries as brothers and sisters. Honorable Speaker, I beg to submit.
Thank you for your contribution, Honorable Matthias. Now, Honorable Dongo.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, if there is anything that embarrasses the region, it is the fact that we have very competitive tendencies around our aviation industry. I know that aviation is one of the most regulated industries globally, but we have spent substantive time trying to understand the technicalities around the aviation industries and why the EAC cannot operate as a single airspace. And we have found out that in spite of the regulations governing the aviation industry globally, there are those self-inflicted decisions that undermine our aviation, the growth of the aviation sector. Just to put it very simply, air transport is just an air bridge. It's just a bridge to bring you from one country to another faster. I don't know why we are treating it the way we are doing it as the community. And as a result, we undermine our own tourism sector. This community has very good intentions. One of its intentions is to deepen our integration and to facilitate cross-border trade, travels. But Right Honorable Speaker, there is no badge of honor in having good intentions without actualizing them. The real test of the pudding is in the eating. So we need to make sure that these intentions are translated to action. There is too much rhetoric around how we want to facilitate the growth and the deepening of our integration, and air transport is one of them. Unfortunately, we are operating in silos when it comes to determination of our fares. And as the ambassador said, when you look at it critically, you find that the overflight fares and the charges for each jurisdiction is causing a lot in terms of the cost of transport. For you to move from France to Holland, it takes you 1 hour, an average of about 1 hour, 20 minutes. It's $100. It is 55 minutes from Entebbe to Nairobi. 55. It's $400 return ticket, about 450 return ticket. It's $100 between France and Holland. And yet we are saying we want East African community to be a competitive investment destination. We are making everything very expensive. And it's just about us to say, let's have a conversation around creating a single airspace so that all flights are domestic flights. As it is now, when you fly from Uganda to Tanzania, from Tanzania to Kenya, it is international travel. Yet we are saying the East African community is one destiny, one people. Why, by domesticating these air flights, which is the prayer of this motion, we are saying that each flight that we take from these destinations within the East African community are considered domestic flights. And in doing so, we will make sure that East Africans are going to travel freely and begin to enjoy and appreciate our integration. We are the hand that is undermining our own integration. And the earlier we determine that the East African community is a single airspace, the better it is for us in driving our integration agenda. I submit, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Dr. Dongo. Now we go to Honorable Namara, then Honorable Kala from DRC.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. On the one side, I want to support this very important motion by Honorable Musamali. You see, on the one side, where I come from is where we shall be having I am Honorable Kalonzo, and seconded by the Honorable Siranda, Blacks. Honorable Speaker and honorable members, I come from an area called Bunyoro. Bunyoro is where we shall be hosting the African Cup of Nations, one of the venues, in a place called Hoima. And we are building an international airport in Hoima for that purpose, not only for football, but you also know that's an area where we have oil. The petroleum deposits of Uganda are found in my backyard. So when I want to fly from Arusha and go to my home, and then you tell me that that's called an international flight, I don't understand exactly what you mean. Because the protocol that we passed, talking about free movement of labor, free movement of persons, free movement of goods, we have only worked on the mechanics which is on the ground, the roads, one-stop border posts. However, the air travel, you will find actually the air travel is the one which is the most used. All international airports are full of people, and the people are integrated. But we have created some barriers by calling them international flights. And now there's competition. When one country starts an airline, another one must start. The other one, when they buy a Boeing, the other one must buy a bigger one. But all of them are operating at a loss. Actually, if we domesticated the airline, the airspace, it would mean that there are many people who are traveling because it's cheap for them to travel to Nairobi from Entebbe to be able to do their business. I was told of a story of one of the students who flies from home to another country every day because it is cheaper to travel by air than going by road. So that student goes by air every day from one country to another. Yes, of course, the time you spend on the road and all that takes a lot of time. So therefore, Honorable Speaker, it is important that the ministers are here. We don't know if you're here. Please take this matter very, very urgently. The East Africans are yearning for this to ensure that people are able to travel. Every day when I'm at the airport in Entebbe, every minute that passes, they announce a flight, arrival of a flight, departure of a flight to Dar es Salaam, to Zanzibar, to Nairobi, to Mombasa. It shows our people are very serious about doing business. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I support the motion by Honorable Samali and Honorable Kalonzo, and seconded by Honorable.
Thank you. Now, Honorable Kala, you have the floor.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the floor. Me, I think the motion isn't, I don't support the motion because I think it's not the moment. Why? Because airspace is a part of national territory and is relating to security too. And we know, each of us here know that we have many security issues in our community, and it's not the time to go forward this decision. And also, I want to underline that the price of a ticket is can be influenced by a commercial decision. No need to have a airspace, common airspace gestion. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Kala. We give the floor to Honorable Hassan and then Honorable Kakoza.
Mr. Speaker, I also raise to support this motion for these 2-3 reasons. One, which was stated by Honorable George Odongo, that we need to make these flights domestic. Today, even if you had a private jet or private aircraft, you can't travel to Arusha directly. You have to go through Kilimanjaro because you have to have special clearance. The only time I was told when we were at some point was when the former president's mother wanted to travel to Arusha where she got special clearance. I think we should liberalize this airspace, notwithstanding the interests of security, which I believe we can strengthen our air defense systems at some point. Number two, Mr. Speaker, we are a region without much infrastructure. the road infrastructure is so dilapidated that air travel is a game changer. All we need is to put a small little airstrip near his home, and we can all land there, have a function, and then go back. It makes flying and commerce, including trading in air cargo, very easy. So that, you know, the DRC, for instance, is an extremely expansive country, probably one of the biggest in Africa, and the infrastructure is not developed. So when you have air travel, small little airstrips as a stopgap measure before we have a massive infrastructure boom, then it can help us in terms of free movement. And God willing, one day Namara is endowed financially. We can have a party in his neighborhood, then go and have another one at Gatpans without having any clearance, and then come to Mombasa where you relax by the beach. So therefore, this is the kind of Africa we need and a kind of a region that we need. I therefore support this motion. Lastly, I'm a very patriotic Kenyan and East African. When you hear the pride of Africa, the taxpayers in Kenya pay 40 billion shillings annually to cut or to bridge the losses by this airline, to keep it there because we are told there's a strategic national interest. I'm one of those who sat in a special committee that investigated Kenya Airways when I was a senator. And our decision was that Kenya Airways needed to be commercialized or privatized because the operations were becoming untenable for the taxpayers. Therefore, even as we move towards that domestication, we must have one airline, East African airline. It cuts down on the OPEX, operational costs. You have to have a managing director from, I don't know which country. You have to pay operational costs in Kampala. This all becomes hubs for one East African airline. You come as an airline, land in Kenya, we will probably not be a loss entity. But all of us here are loss entities, small little governments struggling to keep these airlines afloat when their populations are dying hungry just for matters of prestige. But let's liberalize these air systems. Let's domesticate the airspace so that we have one airline, so that we don't have, we collapse Rwanda Air, Tanzania Air, Kenya Airways, or Uganda Airline. And therefore that also means those countries that have not yet invested in a national carrier don't have to do it. They couldn't focus on other national priorities because there will be a responsibility for us to be operating in some of those capitals. So let us move in stealth. I really believe in this community, and I believe this is the time for Africa. I will be coming to watch that World Cup. That East African Cup, AFCON. I'm sure Kenya will win it because we will play, because we already qualified. Kenya has already qualified. Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania has already qualified. The best soccer team in the region so far is Tanzania. But I have a feeling we will beat you this time. But that notwithstanding, I think that let us also use it as a time also to showcase ourselves. So I support this motion. The interests of security that were alluded to are interests we can take care of with sophisticated air defense mechanism. If a jet fighter comes in from any airspace, we will down it. Don't worry about that, Honorable Evarist.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Omar. Now, Honorable Kakoza. And then...
Honorable Speaker, I think it was my name, not his. James Miller instead of James Kakoza.
What I'm reading here, the list given to me is Honorable Kakoza.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to add my voice to the members who have contributed the motion, but my contribution will be on what this head of state here, His Excellency Ruto, said in his page. He said, it's important for us to lay a strong foundation for East Africa to make a transformative contribution of Pan-African integration and the emergence of the after African continental free trade area and the next hub of global investment, trade and industry. In order to do this, we have to complete the implementation of all the pillars of East African community integration urgently and equally critically align our integration agenda with the broader African transformation paradigm under the African we want. Right, Honorable Speaker, one of the areas I've been reading the economic research made by the World Report, that protectionism cannot be a very good environment for trade and investment. You want a person to come and operate business, the foreign direct investment within the region. He thinks so fast, what is the cost input of my business? Look at somebody traveling from Kinshasa, coming to Arusha is paying 14,000 US dollars. That's business class. But somebody who is coming from Dubai, just 4 hours, the other it can be almost 2 to 3 hours, but is paying just only 700 US dollars. Somebody who is interested in trade business within the region, and I can tell you, the business trade and foreign direct investment is attracted in the region because of cheap costing of business. If we have air transport which is expensive, somebody cannot transact business a day. He can spend 3 days, but the businessman who is investing in the region where the potential is just clear, he cannot come in here because of not cheap cost of transport. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, symbolism of flags on our careers that is coming from the East African community. That one means a lot, the image of the region. Once you liberalize, people will come in and symbolize with the region, which will attract foreign trade, tourists. I can tell you, when you look at now, between 2020, 22, 23, all the partner states, the economic growth depends on tourism. It's one of the performing sector, but tourism comes because we have a minimal percentage because now transport is expensive. As my colleague has said, that the infrastructure we have now in the partner states is really unbecoming. And the best way to sort out this is to liberalize air transport. Somebody can be able to move within 35 minutes, to come to Uganda, go somewhere that is inhibited by the tariff barrier of a high cost of transport. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I do think that the Council of Ministers should turn around and know that when we had a problem within the global economic world, that people resorted to move away from government sector-led economic growth to private sector-led growth. And that's why most of the people, the government business was collapsed. But where they put and they included the private sector, I think you can see the performance in all the partner states because they have the money, government doesn't have money, they are ready to invest at a lower cost, and they are ready to attract members to transact business. Because the population of 400, as we talk now, when we add on Somalia, it will come to around 500 million people. Anybody who look for the market in the region to transact business will depend on that. But how do I access those areas with the cheaper cost so that I can transact business? I beg to submit.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Kakoza. And now we go to the second. Honorable James, in the list. Yes, Honorable James, 5 minutes. Try the other one. Maybe it's. Oh, they have gone. Huh?
This one is working.
It's good. Yes.
This is, Honorable Speaker, this is kindly being very, very lucky to stand before this floor, because I presume normally it's for either the council chair or the ministers to stand before this this microphone. Honorable Speaker, I would wish to first of all register my appreciations for the motion brought on the floor, and say it's actually long overdue. I've had an opportunity to travel across the world, and it is a bit absurd when you're told you're flying from Kilimanjaro to Nairobi, a 25 minutes flight, and it's actually costing maybe 500 USD. When you're flying from Helsinki to Zurich, if you go on Ryanair, you might be charged only 30 euros. Honorable Speaker, however much Walter Rodney wrote a lot about blaming the West on his famous book, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, Honorable Speaker, let us take in ourselves as Africans to blame ourselves for decisions that we're not taking. Honorable Speaker, and I would wish to draw your attention on one of his texts when he says in his book, excuse me, oh God. In one of his books, he says, sorry, in that book, Walter Rodney. Rodney begins by analytically examining the questions of development as a concept. He then argues that development is a universal concept, since each human society seeks to improve or develop itself, and this instinct and capacity to make progress is not exclusive to any one society, but each society develops at its own pace. I beg to stop from there. Honorable Speaker, East Africa has a chance to develop its own at its own pace, and we urge the Council of Ministers to bring, and I suggest to bring up a few recommendations. One, the Council of Ministers should come up with a working group which can analyze how best we can liberalize the airspace and make it cheaper for East Africans to fly across the region. This could be an impediment to trade. In some countries, Honorable Speaker, flying is no longer a luxury, but we take it as a luxury and only for rich people to fly within Africa and East Africa in general, in particular, by making it expensive. This is just, in some countries, people might even prefer to go on train and not by flight. So one suggestion, also, the Council of Ministers, I suggest, should come up with a working group, that's one. But two, not forgetting what had happened in 1977, after the collapse of the first East African community, about air travel and the national carrier or the East African carrier. They should come up with a solution on how we go about it as from now. Is it each country, let's say Kenya, Tanzania, and the 7 or 8 partner states to have a company, but each state to have a shareholding in the company, and maybe a country like maybe South Sudan, if they don't have a national carrier right now, they're given a lot in terms of percentages. Whenever they wish to buy a national to buy flights, then they get part of the the percentage in that big company. So each state, we should come with a formula on which how cheap it could be easier, cheap for East Africans and easier to fly and trade within East Africa. Honorable Speaker, with those few remarks, I beg to submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable James. Now give the floor to the seconders, Chair of Honorable Blacks.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I will go on record that this is a house that is followed. I don't want to start going to school, but Right Honorable Speaker, I think we must improve on how we do work. This is for record, Right Honorable Speaker. There are processes on how we process the things. And if people are watching, and this is what they are watching, I don't think we are proceeding well, Right Honorable Speaker.
So will you support your motion?
Right Honorable
or
Speaker,
are you just
Right Honorable Speaker, this is a motion I seconded and brought to this house.
But by giving you the floor.
Right Honorable Speaker, it's my right to also state and be on record that there are things that are not going right. And as a person that was also sent here to do right things, we must go on record that if things are not right, we harmonize them and address them that they're not right. And I want to be on record, even if I'm a minority, I will be on record that this was not right, and next time we don't follow that.
Okay,
Point of may I know?
Sorry?
I rise on the point of may I know. What is it that is not right? Clarification, okay. What is it that is not right? Which Honorable Saranda want us to improve on?
Right Honorable Speaker, the procedures of a motion, they are movers of the motion.
Honorable Siranda,
the seconders
Honorable Siranda, you have expressed your views and your everything. Now you can sit. If you want to talk, I have to give you the floor. Now we can now give the floor to the ministers, ex-official members, if any. You have the floor.
Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members of the House, I'm not going to come back to the motions as they were tabled in front of you, in front of the House, but only to mention that on behalf of the Council Chair, all the concerns raised by honorable members of the House have been recorded. My colleagues from Tanzania and Uganda, we will table them in front of the Council once we convene, so that we look into what we have submitted and they will make a compilation of our views and considerations for the purpose of advancing our regional integration. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Now the mover, Honorable Musamali.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think the motion was self-explanatory and members have exhausted everything that needed to be exhausted in as far as that motion is concerned, Honorable Speaker. So I'll not labor so much. Maybe just to, there was the clarification which was sought by the Honorable Alode. But I think in the process of the debate by the honorable members, you have been able to be educated about what you wanted. But in brief, liberalization would probably simply mean loosening government controls to allow many participants. That's now in the air industry, in the aviation industry. And then the domestication, let me just bring it back home. We are saying, by domesticating the airspace, we are saying if somebody, just like it has already been alluded to, if somebody is traveling from Entebbe to Kigali, it should not be international. It should be like you are now flying from Kigali to Bugesera. I want to bring it home. When I'm flying from Entebbe to Kilimanjaro, I should not be seen flying international. I should be seen as if I'm flying from Kilimanjaro to Dar es Salaam. That's what we mean by domesticating this airspace. And just like members have alluded to, in fact, it will help us. This is our own survival. It's only, and it is not the first time that we are going to have this. Those of us, we may not have been lucky to benefit from the East African Common Services. But East Africa, the first community, had one airline. The first one, it had one railway system. It had the same post office and telecommunication, East African Post Office and Telecommunication, East African Railways, East African Airways, East African Shipping, East African Ports and Harbors. We are just behind. So let us do our best, because the first one collapsed and this one was reestablished by our forefathers. Please let us now try to expedite. And then I also want to bring it to the attention of the council that we are aware that there are efforts by council to liberalize the EAC airspace. But we have used the word deliberately to expedite. We want you to fast track to liberalize as many participants as possible, as many players as possible. We have decided we have many, because it is very difficult, by the way, to purchase an aircraft and own it in East Africa, all of the partner states. And that's what we are meaning by liberalizing. Allow many of us who can afford. They were saying, Honorable Namara, he has the capacity, but not to buy, it's a problem. So, in brief, we are saying if we liberalize and domesticate this airspace, we shall be able to promote tourism, as already said. Because for your information, Honorable Minister, since you are now the only one now representing council, to fly from Entebbe to come to Kilimanjaro and go to Serengeti National Park, when I look at the cost of that air ticket, and I find that it's the same as the cost of flying, or even more expensive than flying from Entebbe to Dubai, I will go to Dubai than coming to Kilimanjaro. Because the other one is a 6-hour flight. Kilimanjaro is a 50-minute flight. And the thing is expensive. So why should I go? I would rather go there because I hear everybody Dubai. I go to Dubai, I not come to Kilimanjaro, I not go to Serengeti. So if we are serious about ourselves, we should look at this and consider them. You look at time saving. From Entebbe to Nairobi, it will take you 12 hours by road. But from Entebbe to Nairobi by air, it is 50 minutes. So if you are a serious businessman, why should you definitely? But now, because of the cost, you will not fly. You will not even do business. So we are already crippling our own business. And probably even
information, right?
And probably the prevention of
yes, I'm here. Just to enhance your debate.
Okay, thank you. I was just making remarks, but the information is welcome.
Yeah,
Thank
right, Honorable Speaker, just to enhance his debate, I've been informed by one senior who was a beneficiaries of the one railway, ESC railway, that when they were a student, if you have a student ID and a uniform, you can just board the train free. So sometimes he told me they used to sneak from Nairobi to Dar es Salaam just to attend a party and come back to the school. So this is an information. It was free by then for students.
Thank you very much for that information. You can see how people benefited. That's the point which was raised by Honorable Hassan. You'll be in Entebbe, then you have breakfast in Mombasa, and then dinner you'll be in Dar es Salaam. Anyway, lastly, we will look at the issue of losses. As already alluded to, all of our national airlines are making losses. Governments have been pumping in money and money, all of them, to subsidize those costs. But we believe that when you domesticate and many people are now flying, then they will be making profits. We believe so. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, and let me take this opportunity as a tradition to thank these honourable members for the contribution, the Honourable Alodi, Honourable Ambassador Matthias, the Honourable Dongo George, the Honourable Namara Dennis, the Honourable Kara. I stand on your position to oppose, but you will need more time to be ideologically oriented on the issue of being together and working together. The security fear you have as East Africa, when we work as East Africa, we shall solve the security problem as one. And it will not be DRC issue, it will not be Uganda issue or Kenya issue. So please come on board. The Honorable Hassan Omar Hassan, the Honorable James Kakoza, the Honorable James Miria, the Honorable Sranda, and the Honorable Dr. Woda, and the Honorable Minister, Member of Council from Burundi, for all the contributions and support. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And my colleague, the co-sponsor of the motion, the Honorable Musyoka Kalonzo. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Musamali. I now put the question that this assembly do resolve to add the EAC Council of Ministers and partner states to expedite the liberalization and domestication of the EAC airspace. Those in favor say aye. Those in the contrary say nay. The ayes have it. It is 6 o'clock. Tomorrow will be a busy day because our plenary will start at 9, and we'll have also meeting in the afternoon on the same day. That's why we have maybe to stop here and go and be ready for tomorrow.
Point of information, Speaker. Information. I just wanted to bring to your attention, which is in everybody's knowledge, that we have this holy month of Ramadan. So I'm requesting that if the afternoon sessions can end at about 6 to allow us a safe transition. So this today is extremely well, we're in good faith. So, but then we may need to make a deliberate effort because Ramadan, we break our fast at 6:47.
Yes, it's true. So we on Thursday, we'll have a motion that will be moved and we'll have to debate it. The motion will be about His Excellency, the late Mwinyi, who passed away from Tanzania. So with these honorable members, we adjourn this meeting until Wednesday, 9 a.m. morning.
Yeah.